The Elements of Non-Euclidean Geometry by D.M.Y. Sommerville.
Chapter 1, Historical, Section 15, Bolyai. Janus Bolyai, 1802 to 1860, was the son of Farkas Wolfgang Bolyai, 1775 to 1856, a fellow student and friend of Gauss at Göttingen. The father was early interested in the theory of parallels and without doubt discussed the subject with Gauss while at Göttingen. The professor of mathematics at the time, A. G. Kestner, had himself attacked the problem, and with his help G. S. Klugel, one of his pupils, compiled in 1763 the earliest history of the theory of parallels. In 1804, Wolfgang Bolyai, just after his appointment as professor of mathematics in Merovesali, sent to Gauss a theory of parallels, the elaboration of his Göttingen studies. In this he gives a demonstration very similar to that of Michael and some of Perronneau-Thompson's, in which he tries to prove that a series of equal segments placed end to end at equal angles, like the sides of a regular polygon, must make a complete circuit. Though Gauss clearly revealed the fallacy, Bolyai persevered and sent Gauss in 1808 a further elaboration of his proof. To this Gauss did not reply, and Bolyai, wearied with his ineffectual endeavors to solve the riddle of parallel lines, took refuge in poetry and composed dramas. During the next 20 years, amid various interruptions, he put together his system of mathematics, and at length, in 1832 and 1833, published in 2 volumes an elementary treatise on mathematical discipline which contains all his ideas with regard to the first principles of geometry. Meanwhile, Janus Bolyai, while a student at the Royal College of Engineers in Vienna, had been giving serious attention to the theory of parallels, in spite of his father's solemn adjuration to let the loathsome subject alone. At first, like his predecessors, he attempted to find a proof for the parallel postulate, but gradually, as he focused his attention more and more upon the results which would follow from a denial of the axiom, there developed in his mind the idea of a general or absolute geometry, which would contain ordinary or Euclidean geometry as a special or limiting case. Already in 1823, he had worked out the main ideas of non-Euclidean geometry, and in a letter of 3rd November, he announces to his father his intention of publishing a work on the theory of parallels. For, he says, I have made such wonderful discoveries that I am myself lost in astonishment, and it would be an irreparable loss if they remained unknown. When you read them, dear father, you too will acknowledge it. I cannot say more now, except that out of nothing I have created a new and another world. All that I have sent to you hitherto is as a house of cards compared to a tower. Wolfgang advised his son, if his researches had really reached the desired goal, to get them published as soon as possible. For new ideas are apt to leak out, and further, it often happens that a new discovery springs up spontaneously in many places at once, like the violets in springtime. Bolyai's presentiment was truer than he suspected, for at this very moment Lobachevsky at Kazan, Gauss at Göttingen, Tarinus at Cologne were all on the verge of this great discovery. It was not, however, until 1832 that at length the work was published. It appeared in Volume 1 of his father's Tentamen under the title Appendix, Centium Absolut Exhibenza. Wolfgang Bolyai wrote one other book in German in which he refers to the subject, but the son, although he continued to work at his theory of space, published nothing further. Lobachevsky's Geometrische Untersuchungen came to his knowledge in 1848, and this spurred him to complete the great work on Raumlehre, which he had already planned at the time of the publication of his appendix. But he left this in large part as a rudis indigesta commosa, and he never realized his hope of triumphing over his great Russian rival. On the other hand, Lobachevsky never seems to have heard of Bolyai, though both were directly or indirectly in communication with Gauss. Much has been written on the relationship of these three discoverers, but it is now generally recognized that John Bolyai and Lobachevsky each arrived at their ideas independently of Gauss and of each other, and since they possessed the conviction and the courage to publish them which Gauss lacked, to them alone is due the honor of the discovery.
The Elements of Non-Euclidean Geometry. This book was written by D.M.Y. Sommerville, M.A. and Doctor of Science. It was published by the Open Court Publishing Company, London, G. Bell & Sons, Ltd. in 1919, and now is in the public domain. It is being read by Jim Renholt, with programming and illustrations by Jim Renholt in 2019. Thank you for listening.